All right, Nick, let's talk about the Tennessee Volunteers. Huge news for the Volunteers. Just last night, a big announcement was made, and the Volunteers are looking phenomenal. Young quarterback Nico Yamaleva is going to have himself a star joining him on this team. I think the Volunteers are looking very strong in 2023, but also in 2024 as well.
Yeah, Miles, the news keeps getting better and better for the Vols as they look to expand themselves into a national powerhouse. Once again, great report that you found. But before we get into that question for you Vols fans to answer, as always, in the comment section below, kind of an interesting one for you today. Who is the fastest volunteer in team history? There's a lot of great names out there, a lot of interesting names. Curious what you guys have to say, though. So in the comment section below, give us the fastest Tennessee volunteer in team history. All right, Miles, what you got? What's this latest news out of Knoxville?
Yeah, Nick. So we're talking about the Volunteers. We're talking about talent. Obviously, they got a great quarterback on this squad in Yamaleva. But now he has himself a top tier weapon, Nick. We're talking about Mike Matthews out of Lilburn, Georgia, Parkview High School. This kid is one of the best players in the country. Number 8 wide receiver by some metrics. Some metrics have him as number 4 wide receiver, number 13 player in the nation. This kid is phenomenal. But let's get into the story before we break all of that down, Nick. This is from over on Hayes Fawcett on On3 Sports. This kid literally committed to Tennessee last night. 5-star wide receiver Mike Matthews of Lilburn, Georgia, Parkview High announced his commitment to Tennessee Wednesday night. The 6'2", 185-pounder chose the Volunteers over Georgia, Clemson, and Southern Cal. The two-way playmaker with elite ball skills who has blossomed into one of the top wide receiver prospects until 2024 cycle, measured at 6'2", 185 with a 6'6" wingspan prior to his junior season. He lines up at both receiver and safety for Parkview High, pairs the length with advanced coordination and hands to result in a considerable catch radius. He catches the ball away from his body. He's shown the ability to win contested situations on Friday nights and in a 7-on-7 setting. He's a bouncy athlete who doubles as a standout basketball player in high school and on the AAU circuit, and he's still developing as a route runner but shows progress as a junior. One of the top overall prospects from the state of Georgia regarded of class. He's ranked as the number 14 player in On3 industry ranking, and Nick, he is the number 4 wide receiver and the number 3 player in the state of Georgia. A lot of information, but really all you need to know is this kid is really, really good. The Volunteers have gotten themselves a steal of a recruit, getting him right out of Georgia's own backyard. But Nick, I want to hear what you think about Matthews. What does this mean for the Volunteers?
Well, it just shows that they're getting darn good at recruiting wide receivers. You go from Velus Jones, Jalen Hyatt, and Tillman, of course. Those guys are now NFL guys, and they're just getting such a strong pipeline at that position. And look, in today's day and age in college football, it's much more like the NFL game. You need an army of receivers. You need a great quarterback on defense. You need an army of corners to counter those receivers. And the Vols are doing a great job on offense, bringing in quality quarterbacks. You mentioned Nico. They obviously have a deep stable there with what they've done at the quarterback position over the last 2 or 3 years, and wide receiver is following that same track. So that's great news on that front. But Miles, I want to talk about the regional win for the Volunteers because this is absolutely massive. On this show, we talk about the Smoky Mountain corridor all the time. We talk about the upstate Carolinas. We're talking about the east side of Tennessee and North Georgia, the mountains, the Smoky Mountains. We say that's a great area for football, and it's brutally competitive between Tennessee, Clemson, and Georgia. Whoever wins out that area usually does extremely well and wins national titles, right? You look at Clemson, look at Georgia the past 5, 6, 7 years or so. But this is not in that region. This isn't just a suburb of Atlanta. This is traditionally, or when I say traditionally in the last decade or so, is just a battle between Georgia and a battle between Clemson. The fact that Tennessee is able to wedge themselves in between and say, nah, Kirby Smart, nah, Dabo Sweeney, we're getting this guy, is such a huge win for this program. This is if Tennessee can go beyond the Smoky Mountain corridor and expand into the Atlanta region, look out, because that means they're not just going to be a good team and maybe competing maybe for an SEC championship game appearance, maybe for a New Year's Day bowl. They're going to be competing for national titles once again if they can expand into the Atlanta region, Mize, and it looks like they're doing just that with this commitment.
Yeah, Nick, I think you hit it nail on the head here. You're exactly right. Because they got to beat the talent around them. When you have teams like Georgia and Clemson around you, and even go as far to say you got teams like Alabama even a little further down, teams you're competing against all the time, they can suck the talent out of a program if you're not careful. But Tennessee's being ultra aggressive, going after the positions, like we said, they know how to cultivate best, and hoping to get that model of good recruiting begets better recruiting. A players want to play with A players, and I say it all the time. You can get these guys in here. I guarantee you there's going to be a few more big time wide receivers coming to Tennessee because of this pickup in a guy like Matthews. Plus, Josh Heupel's scheme is pretty favorable to wide receiver talent. Give them a lot of numbers, give them a lot of favorable matchups and such. So I think it's a really big move for Heupel in Tennessee, and I want to see how it affects them down the line, especially going into next year, and see if they can pull off some even bigger wide receiver moves.